Set her on fire. Set her on fire and cast lots for how loud her voice should ring. Set her on fire and ask the kink in her hair why it holds on so tight. Set her on fire and compare the contempt in her eyes with your shattering humor. Set her on fire and watch as her spit comes alight and her tongue fans the flames. Set her on fire and hear her laugh harmonize with each flickering tail. Set her on fire and don't expect her to rise. She is not a phoenix. Set her on fire and watch her call her children and grandchildren over to learn how to burn. Set her on fire and ask the fire why it wraps up her thighs and cups her breasts. Set her on fire and keep showering her with your words and hatred and battering her with your fists. Set her on fire. Set her on fire. Set her on fire. Set her on fire. And remember never to look away or you'll miss the part where she calls the fire home. When she twirls and says, look, I am hot. This fire has left me parched. I've been singing young girl songs. I am cured. The fire's quenched. Let her burn again. Set her on fire and serve her blood. That is all she wants of you.
This is not a true story. It's a myth, like Cinderella, like Snow White and the seven dwarfs. Were they seven? Yes. And we get told this myth in school. It's part of English literature at the age of 6. So as soon as you're able to read and write, they hand you this myth to learn. And this sort of sets the pace for you as a girl child, that if you do not conform, if you do not serve, if you do not do what is required of you, you will soon be homeless. Now, this is a myth, but it's also reality. There's a saying back home that a girl is homeless. First, she belongs in her father's house. And if she ever does anything wrong in her father's house, he has the right to chase her out of it. And then second, she goes to her husband's house. And the threat is the same. If you do not perform as you are required, your stay in this house is very temporary. I have very personal testimonies of this. My mother has been kicked out of the house multiple times for not conforming. So this brings us to my home foundation called Njabala Foundation. Njabala Foundation was started by a curator and friend called Martha Kazungu. Now, Martha Kazungu approached me with this story, and she's like, all of us grow up with this story. She came from a family of 7, and she was the only girl and the youngest, and she had to take care of all those 7 boys, including her parents. Each time she would rest, her mother would say, women don't rest, they don't fall sick, they don't sit. Your job is to serve. So we connected very deeply with this. I don't know the right vocabulary for it, but it seemed very unfair and still is very unfair. So we came up with this Njabala exhibition, which was titled Njabala, This Is Not How. And we were questioning what would happen if Njabala had got alternative advice instead of the advice that trains her to serve the patriarchy.